This episode of The Inspiration Show is so incredibly special. I am beyond honored and excited to welcome the incredibly talented Joanie Anderson to The Inspiration Show. Joanie is currently starring as Annie in the play That Goes Wrong Off-Broadway. Joanie, thank you so much for being here. I have so much love and admiration for you, and I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, I can't stop smiling. Thank you for having me. This is just really a treat. So thank you so much.
I'm so excited. So I want to start at the very beginning. When did
Okay.
you discover that you had a passion for singing and for theater?
Oh gosh, the funny thing about my journey into this world and into this work is that I feel like it wasn't the typical path of I think of most performers. I didn't start off doing a lot of community theater, high school stuff. I was a cheerleader in high school and that was my passion. I know that I love to give joy to people. That's why I love cheer so much because it's just such a very energetic, awesome sport. But I didn't really kind of like have the idea until I went to so when I graduated high school, I did 2 years at community college, just kind of, filling the space for a moment, figuring out what I wanted to do. And I took an acting class there. And I was like, I like this. I think that, and like I said, I've always loved giving people joy, but I just never connected the two of like, this is what I want to do with my life. The funny thing is I do have it in my world. Like growing up, I'm a military brat. And so, we moved from different, military installations, and my mom is retired Army. She was into all of the theatrical things that were happening on base. So I think my mom did Cinderella. She was one of the fairy godmothers. No, that was Sleeping Beauty. That was Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is the fairy godmothers,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, she did Sleeping Beauty, and every place she did Oliver. So everywhere we went, I was surrounded by it, but I never connected it to my life, until later on. And then after that, I went to my 4 year college and got my BFA there, and then the rest is history from there.
Oh, yeah, you kind of set me up perfectly for my next question because learning about your childhood was just so interesting and fascinating to me. And I kind of wanted to dive more into that because, like you said, you grew up a military child and your mom was
Mhm,
actively involved in community theater programs wherever your family was stationed, which is just
mhm.
absolutely incredible. So, theater was always part of your life from that young age. So, how did watching her passion for theater and being exposed to the arts in so many different places around the world kind of shape your own journey as a performer?
I mean, so I always joke, I am the most kind of introverted, extroverted person you might meet. I love to entertain as someone else. So I love putting on a character. Annie just really fits into my quirks and personality of being, someone who is a little shy, but then kind of like breaks out and like wants everybody just to know she is here. So, growing up, I was all like one of the duty stations we were at, they would do this yearly talent show for all the kids on the base. And like I said, I love to do the things, but I'm still super shy. And I'll never forget, I was singing a song and I was singing it, I want to say a cappella, and I started in the wrong key and I was too high. So
We've all
then when
been
the
there.
so then when the song had to modulate, I had nowhere to go because I was at the top of my register. And I literally just kind of stopped. I laughed it off. I went off stage for a second, composed myself, and I came back and finished the song, did it, it was fine. But I looked up to her so much, and I loved watching her. I loved being being backstage, watching from the wings, all of that. It was so exciting for me. And I think I just had to, to this day, I think I've managed to hone it in, my nervousness, but it's still there. Even after all this time, I'm still super nervous. And I think I saw somewhere that as long as there's nerves, it says that you're still doing the thing you should be doing. As long as you're a little scared, you're still kind of going in the right path. If you get to a point where you're like, I'm old hat at it, it is what it is. It might be a time, to pivot, reevaluate if you need to stretch in a new way to expand yourself in a new way, that what you've been doing, might have grown stale a little bit. You want to excite yourself again. But for the most part, yeah, I love the jitters because, I feel like the audience is so excited to experience whatever you have to give them. And my jitters kind of connects me with, I want to give them the best, performance I can. So I'm always connected to that thought.
Yeah, the jitters show you care. I mean, they always say in this industry that the greatest performers still have stage fright. And I think it's
Yeah.
a cool thing for me to think about too as a performer myself as well. Like
Mhm.
when you look at people that are doing shows, 8 shows a week on tour, on Broadway, off Broadway, community theater, and you're doing the same show, people often think that aren't in the industry. They say, well, you do the show 8 shows a week, like it's become autopilot. Do you still get nervous? And the answer is
No,
always yes, because
always
shows
yes.
you care no matter how many times it could be your 1000th show, your 50th show, your 30th show, you'll still get nervous because it shows you
Absolutely.
care. And you tell that story, and even though it might be your 100th time doing the show, there's someone out there in the audience that's never seen it. And you're doing
Right. And I
it
think
for them.
that is the beautiful piece of like, especially with this show, because this is my first time doing something for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to reconnect to Annie every single performance, and really like our directors always keep in our mind, this is opening night, this is opening night, this is opening night, this is opening night. So always having that through line in my brain with everything that's happening on stage and being connected to that really helps to really, and I feel like other shows may not have that thing to kind of like keep them grounded in that. We have that built into our show, that this is opening night, always reconnect to, this is the first
Yeah.
time that you're doing it, this is the first, even though that's the reality of the business we do, but having that tangible thing to connect to every single performance really is helpful.
Yeah, and I think doing it so many times is so cool because you get to kind of discover new things about your character every single night.
Yes.
And I always think it is the coolest thing when you kind of get into the bulk of the run and you've been doing it for a while. And this always, it gets me every time I do a run of a show and I like say a line differently. I'll come off stage and be like, oh, I've done that 50 times and I've never delivered it that way. And like those nuances, like they come out and it could be the slightest thing, like you hit something differently or your intonation was different, but you learn something new about your character every single time you do it. And that's how it never gets stale. And I think that's just the beauty of theater is getting to spend so much time in someone else's shoes.
That actually just happened and it completely caught me off guard.
Every time
I
it
was
catches
like,
you off guard.
it was hilarious because of I something I say in the show, and I literally, it was a repetitive line, and I
Yeah.
went to do the cadence I normally do, and just organically the last iteration of it was completely different, and I was like, instantly I thought I did something wrong. I was like, did I skip something? Like what? So I was in my head like, oh my gosh, did I mess up something for another actor? Like it was a whole, and it's toward the end of act one. So immediately when I came off stage, I asked the stage manager, I was like, did I say something wrong? They were like, no, you just said it differently. I was like, oh my God. Like it just, you don't even sometimes notice because you are in your body, but then you are living living a live moment in the same
Yep.
moment at the same time. So and I mean that keeps it exciting. That's what I love, love, love about live theater, is that literally something can change in an instant that takes it to another place instantly, that like you and your castmates can really respond to in real time. And I love those moments that happen that the audience may not know, but we're like, ooh, and we're alive again. And it's exciting to have that cycle.
Yeah, it's so funny you say this because I was actually thinking about you a while ago. My senior show was Spamalot, and I don't know
Ah,
why, but Spamalot reminds me so much of the play that goes wrong. Like I feel like they're in
yes,
the same world with that kind of comedy and like all the silly like goes wrong stuff, and I feel like the joke
yes.
kind of. So I was really excited to step into that world, and I played the narrator. So I had that big opening monologue that kind of like set the scene, and I have my
Mm.
cadences, and every single director I work with is like you say your lines rhythmically like it's a song. And I'm like, I'm a musical
Mm.
theater actor. But and then when you
It's in my body.
when you change the cadence, like I had that same thing. I went off and I asked one of my friends who was in the wings, I was like, did I mess up my monologue? She's like, no, your cadence was just different. And it's like the slightest things
What do you
they
mean?
set us off, and I'm like, what do you mean? But it's so cool to get to do the same thing every single night because it may be the same thing to the audience, but to us it's so different every night because you
Yeah.
don't know what's gonna hit you. And it's
Yeah.
so cool. I love the magic of live theater. And I mean, especially with this show, because we're gonna get into it later, but with the whole
Yeah.
like the show must go on and let's hope nothing goes wrong, like that's the heart of your show, is just
I
everything goes
love
wrong.
it. I
And
love
I
it. I'm
love it.
still.
And that's why this show has such a special place in my heart. So I want to talk about what really inspired you to become a performer and pursue it professionally, and who has been an inspiration of yours throughout your incredible career.
So I like I said, I anything I do, I love to bring joy. Like I think that is my purpose. That is my passion. Like I love, especially after the show, when I do get to touch base with people at the stage door, and they are just sometimes people have cried because the joy can really take you to that place too of tears, and knowing that like especially with where we are in the world today, if they can come and spend 2 hours with us and leave a little lighter, that just that just keeps me going. So I love, love, love that. Um, some of my inspirations, I mean, I love Viola Davis. I love how deep and impactful she can get with her work. I love Regina Hall and Regina King. Both of them, Regina Hall specifically in the comedic lane. I've always admired her because I just feel like she is just such a beautiful person and she's a beautiful performer. But I love how she is just so innately funny without trying, without like, it's just who she is. And I love how she blends that, into the roles that she takes. And I enjoy her work. And Regina King is just phenomenal to me. I think she is beautiful. Kerry Washington, I love her. I just rewatched Scandal randomly for like the first time since it aired originally, and I really just paid attention to. I mean, honestly, everybody in that cast, in that series, I just watched how intentional they were with their words, with their diction. Like it just was. It was a really phenomenal piece of work. So those are some of the main ones. I mean, there's several, but those are some of the main ones that come to my mind instantly. Just how much I enjoy the work that they do.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about bringing joy. Like, I relate to that so much. Like, as a performer, I feel like it is our job to kind of bring that joy and kind of be that escape
Mhm.
for people. And I think that that is just the most special thing about theater is just seeing that impact that you can give to people and the feeling of that joy. So I just love, love, love that you said that that's what you were meant to do because I relate to that.
Yes.
So I this might be a tough one, I apologize. Can you take us
Okay.
back to the first time that you experienced theater and how you were feeling at the time? Do you remember the first show you saw?
So I don't remember what I was feeling, but I do remember my first Broadway show specifically was Beauty and the Beast. I was a Girl Scout at the time, and my mom was our Girl Scout leader, and she took us on a trip to New York from Maryland, where I'm from. And Beauty and the Beast was the show that we went to go see. And randomly, obviously, because it's such a spectacle moment, but the core memory that's in my mind is when the Beast is like, I don't know if he's chasing Belle or if it's at the top before he became the beast. I just remember like thunder and lightning happening and like the lights are going dark and there's a roof scene or something. Um and just like the grandness of that whole moment, and then also when he goes from turning from the beast back to his human form, that stuck in my mind. But that was my first Broadway show. But I can't remember like how I felt. I don't think I had like a visceral feeling because back then I think I was like 12 or 13. I wasn't thinking about this world as a profession. But like I said, it's always been a part of me. Like my favorite thing growing up was watching movie musicals. So like some of the old like Chorus Line I watched on repeat. There's this movie called Stepping Out with Liza Minnelli where she basically,
Yes,
oh my god,
yes,
I
that one
love
is so niche. It's so good.
I would watch that movie over and over again. One of my favorites, and it's I think their workshop, like the conversation has started about it coming to Broadway, is Polly, which is basically the African American version of Pollyanna. That movie, like I had the dress like Polly, like she had this really cute period dress with the ruffle, the petticoat underneath. And so I watched that on repeat. Felicia Rashad was in that. Keisha Knight Pulliam was Polly in that. And so yeah, I've always had musical theater in my life and been so drawn to it, never connecting that one day this would be the work that I would be doing.
Incredible. And that's what I love so much about like this podcast and interviews and getting to chat with performers because everyone's journey is so different. Like I know people that went to medical school, law school, and now on Broadway, and
Yeah.
some people that didn't go to school at all, some people that didn't get their BFAs, some people that it kind of just fell into their lap and they got an audition and they were like, "Hey, I'm gonna go for it," and booked
Right.
it. It's so,
Hmm.
so cool to see that, like, for some people, like they say they were born on stage and some people it came to them later in life and we
Yeah.
all end up on different places and I just think it is so special that there's not one set journey. I always say
Yes.
you just gotta follow the yellow brick road and you'll get there. And I'm manifesting it that when Polly comes to Broadway, you have to be in that. Like you'd be so good.
Listen, I mean, I've done aged
Manifesting
out
that
of
so
I've,
hard.
I've done aged out of Polly. I can't be her, but I can be her mama.
That could work. Oh, you got to be in that. That would be
That
so good.
that would be the dream.
Oh, that would be so good. So I kind of want to talk about your high school years because I feel
Yeah.
like high school is so formative. And interestingly, in high school, you weren't part of the drama program. Like you said, you were a competitive cheerleader. So how
Yeah.
did cheerleading become another form of performance for you? And what did it teach you about discipline and presence and working as part of an ensemble? And then how did you kind of find your way back to theater after cheerleading?
I mean, I think you've said all the things. Like, it's a team collaborative sport that you really have to lean on your teammates to make the whole thing work. Just the same as if somebody drops a line on stage, I've got to look at which happens,
It
right?
happened.
I've got to look at my scene partners and be like, who's going to fix it, and know that somebody can come in. We trust each other. We know the show well enough that like we can pick it up and we're all like in sync. It's the same thing with a stunt. If a stunt is about to fall, I need to know that my flyer, because I was both a flyer and a bass, I need to know that my flyer knows how to like tighten their body in the right way to kind of try and save it, that my bass has got their feet planted. Like, all of us are working together, and I know that, it's going to work out for our favor as safe as possible, right? Which is funny that the two kind of connect, because I had the opportunity to do Bring It On, um
No.
way after I had graduated. And that was an experience. First of all, when Bring It On came out, I was like, now listen, I'm a date myself. When the original came out, okay, it was like, what do you mean? Like, there's a film, there's a movie, and even back then, still not connecting that I'm going to do this work. So when the film came out, it was just all of us cheerleaders going to support the sport that we love in like this grand theatrical space, was so exciting. But then when the musical came out, I was well into my career by then and like doing the work. And I was like, what do you mean? Let's stop right now. Cheerleading and musical theater together. What is happening? Like, major. And so I wasn't able to see the original Broadway cast. But when it came time, a theater that I work at, upstate, Red House Art Center, which I love dearly, they were doing it as a collaboration with young adults and young artists. So they brought in, professionals to be kind of like mentors to the young artists. And I had these babies in my mind, putting me up in stunts and things like that. And so during our photo call, we were doing like our, last kind of tech run, and we were taking photos that night. One of our stunts didn't hit. And it had never not hit before, like in any of our rehearsals. And there's a picture that lives forever that is one of like my favorite moments, that like it doesn't hit. We don't fall to the ground, but like I just kind of, yeah, and because I really wanted the kids to know like the show must go on. It's okay. Like, you don't have to be worried about, oh, we messed up. Like, no, this is what it was supposed. It was basically Bring It On Goes Wrong. Basically. And I wanted them to know, you're okay. And so, going back to the question, in any type of team sport, it's all a collaborative. We're all working together. And I think the performance piece, which I love so much, the facials that we had to have, as part of our score. I loved my cheerleading time. When I moved to New York, I was trying to find an open team, which is anybody 18 plus. But in the city, it didn't really exist. I mean, they have some auxiliary teams that do things for like fundraisers and like parades and stuff like that. But I really miss the competitiveness of it. But So yeah, just that kind of being able to lean on someone, being able to connect with them in a moment, to know, being able to, sometimes even on stage, because we're human and we get tired, doing especially this show, 8 shows a week can take a toll on your body, and sometimes even in real time you might need to give your castmate a pick me up. You might need to kind of, in a way, connect with them to be like, all right, let's. Here comes the big part. Let's whatever that is for you, that you in the relationship with that actor have created. That's the same thing. Like with cheer. It's to the last part, and normally the dance portion of a routine is always at the end. So we get through all the hard stuff, the tumbling, the stunting, all of that, and the dance is what kind of brings it home. So by then, once we've tumbled, once we've stunted, we're exhausted, and we've got to kind of get that last bit of gas in the tank to finish strong. It's the same with this, and especially with this show, because for knowing the show, the last kind of minutes of the show are kind of the most high intensity. And so really being able to connect with my cast and kind of moments to be like, hey, let's go, we got this. It just really, like, and I think that makes the moments that the audience sees even that much more precious, because we can support each other and make sure that we're connecting to just finish strong, and get the trophy.
Yes, I always say that theater is a team sport, and it
Yeah,
is so
yeah.
special to get to build those relationships with your cast members and kind of do
Mhm.
the thing every night. And I just love
Yeah.
that Bring It On was there for you in that, like, this is the musical of my life kind of way. Like, this is
I'm
me. Like,
still
I love
gagging,
that.
and it's been many years since it graced Broadway. I'm still like,
I want
what?
a
Like,
revival. Now that I think about
listen,
that, I'm like,
listen.
can we get a revival?
I will get in the gym and get this body together. Okay, for that, I would listen.
Like,
Front row in the open call.
I love that show. Yeah, that needs to come back to Broadway like right now. That would
Yeah,
be
it's so specific though. I mean, I feel like with any, because cheerleaders are athletes, like, with anything, it will take training, but like,
yeah, yeah.
stunting and stuff like that is very specific. So, and the technique of that, because they had cheerleaders, obviously, I want to say that we're doing the show like that within the ensemble. Um, so yeah, it is a very specific show, but yeah, just
Hashtag actors are athletes. It's mind blowing. Like now that I have, been doing it for so long, I have such a new appreciation for it when I sit in the audience of a show and just kind of think, wow,
yeah.
actors
Yeah.
are athletes. Like it is so, so crazy to think like eight
Yeah.
shows a week and like it's not easy and people don't realize that actors are athletes. So I'm going to shout it out for the people in the back because actors
Absolutely.
are
Listen,
athletes.
absolutely.
So you hold a BFA in theater from North Carolina A&T State University. So how did your time there kind of shape you as a performer and prepare you for a career in this industry?
Well, and it's funny because I've had two of my professors recently come and see the show, and
Oh,
that was so special. It felt very full circle. Um, because they are part of the beginning of this journey. And, I was a young little thing, just, oh, I want to do theater one day. And so for them to come was really, really special. Um, it's interesting because, like, I wanted to have as much of a college experience as possible, right? So, and with theater, as like, even you recently graduated from high school, yes?
yeah, yeah,
And so, it's all encumbersome, right? You've
yep,
got tech, you've got, when we're building the sets, when we're striking the sets,
yep.
rehearsal. I mean, it's such a day in and day out thing. So I intentionally found space during my time, because I feel like as a performer, experiences also color who you are as a performer, right? You can do all the things you learn in the textbooks, but I feel like still having lived life experience also makes you a well-rounded artist. And so I pledged when I was in school. I joined Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated when I was there, and did other things outside of just being in the theater department. And I feel that has also been a part of my life post graduation and into the world. When I moved to the city, I had a full time job, which I still have, because I do. understand living in the city is very expensive. I have a lot of friends who are strictly artists in the sense that like they go from gig to gig and that's their world. That was never kind of my path. I like the structure of knowing when I go to work, there's a paycheck that comes every Friday. And I think I'm a very type A artist, because you think of artists, you think of kind of like loose, flowing, and kind of like free spirited and kind of can kind of go with the flow. I like structure.
Me
So
too. I
I
relate
like
to this so
it's
much.
oh good, good,
Yes.
good. I'm
Yes.
not alone. So it is hard, sometimes when I've been in experiences that a director may say, what do you think, how flow with it, and I'm like, what do you mean? I can definitely color something once I have the skeleton,
Yeah.
but I do thrive where it's like, here is the road, the roadmap, and then I create within the roadmap. But when you want me to create the own roadmap, my type A brain is like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, and I can do it, but like it definitely is a different muscle that has to kind of like, shake. So I think, yeah, my time in college, I definitely, wanted to have the college experience, but I was also very much, doing all the different things within the theater department when I wasn't on stage. And I still feel that way now. I love the creative process on the other side. Not just being on stage. I love costuming. I love directing. Directing is something that I discovered that I enjoyed in college, but I never kind of like leaned into it because I was always kind of like a little afraid. Because it's very scary to you're the responsible person for bringing this thought to life, and then people can judge it, people can critique it. So I feel like, even though they can critique you as an artist on stage, there's something different about being the kind of creative mind that like shapes the world, shapes the idea, and then hands it to the world to kind of like receive. And so that is something that I want to kind of like at some point explore. But yeah, my postgraduate life kind of is the same thing, especially now as a mom. I becoming a parent, I was very intentional about, I can't audition for everything, which does limit my opportunities, yes, but I want to be as present of a parent as I can, also while pursuing my dreams and letting my son see me do that, because I want to instill that in him, that you can pursue your dreams. So it's just kind of the opportunities that I've had have absolutely been divinely, connected. And, I believe that what is yours. And things have happened as they should happen, and like I said, now I'm here with the play that goes wrong, doing Annie. And it was divinely supposed to be. So.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I mean, it's so
Oh,
special. And thank you for speaking about, being a mom and kind of, what it's like to do that 8 shows a week and to pursue also showing your son what an incredible job you can do when you follow your dreams and you try hard because it is not an easy thing to do. So thank you for being so open about that and
absolutely. Thank
about
you.
that. And I know being a mom is truly one of the greatest roles that you've played. So thank you for sharing that.
It's wonderful. It truly is. And I think, a lot of the opportunities that I've had in my career have arrived after becoming a mother, because my focus and my determination and my desire to do the work that I'm doing at a certain level increased, because I'm responsible for someone else and I have to provide for him. And as much as I love being an artist, it is still a job. And with a job comes financial security. And so like wanting to, put myself in a position to where my passion also supported my life, for us, my son and I, was just kind of, like I said, accelerated once he came into the world. And so I'm really thankful for him and for what that did for me, as far as just kind of like giving me that laser focus to kind of lock in and say, okay, so what do we need to do, what are the things that I'm responsible for that are going to put me in alignment to get things to come my way. So
And I can't imagine how special it was for him to see you in the show, and like you said, for your professors from school to see you in
Yes.
the show. Then I also want to go back to what you said about directing, because I feel like directing is so eye-opening and it's so special.
Yes.
When you're an actor, you're just taking notes from your director and doing everything your
Yeah.
director says. But when you're the director, everything kind of flips. And I'm also throwing out that I want you directing a production of Bring It On now, please.
Oh my gosh, that would be wow. I listen, you manifesting something in my life that I didn't even think about. Like I didn't
Oh,
I would love that. I would love that. I just wow. Like I truly am so passionate about cheer to this day. Like watching, if clips come on TV or whatever, and like with social media when people post their competitions, I'm so passionate about cheer. I mean, it really does have such a place in my heart. Like in a different world, I would have been like, a mom just living it and being like the school my child's school cheerleading coach. Like
oh my
that
God.
was the dream at one point. But to direct, Bring It On would be I actually thought about it, and maybe I should put this into the world. I thought about going back to my high school and seeing if they wanted to bring it, because I don't think my high school, has a competitive team. I don't think they ever thought about doing it there. I would love to come back and be like a visiting director and like, direct the show and combine my two, especially being a former high school, graduate of the program, and being a competitive cheer with the team, and now being in this world. I would love to do that. So you just birthed a whole
That
thing.
needs to happen. That needs to happen. Oh my, and the rights are out for the show. So I mean,
Listen, I need to. Well, my coach has since retired, but I mean, I'm sure she could possibly put me in contact with whoever is now, over the program, and maybe I don't know. I don't know. Anything is possible.
anything is possible. Anything is possible. And speaking of regional theater, you've also brought so many beloved stories to life in incredible regional theater productions that you've done. You've done Sister Act, The Color Purple, Brent, you did Bring It On, and many more. So, which regional theater productions have been the most memorable for you? And could you share a few standout moments?
Oh gosh. Well, I will say one that to this day blows my mind. I did Sister Act. I've done it twice.
Yeah.
And the first time I did it was at Arkansas Repertory Theater. Lovely place. Love those folks. And I was the understudy for Dolores, and I played Michelle, and then one of the nuns. And the lead, Dolores, was one of my lovely, lovely friends. And during one of the shows, during like the course of a couple of shows, she was feeling a little under the weather. And, at one point after one of our performances, I saw her talking to like the stage manager and the music director. I mean, I didn't bother her, like, but I mean, I knew they were probably like maybe trying to get a game plan together to see how, like, where she was, if she could continue on for the weekend. And I had my put in for Act One, I do believe, like Saturday before the matinee, right? And or it might have been Friday before the evening show. Either way, I had my put in for Act One. And we got to one of the shows, and our choreography, like at the end of Act One, when we have our final number and we're like, eh, the lights go dim, we're on risers, and she comes up and we kind of help her down the riser, and then we all like exit. She passed me and she was like, get ready. And I was like, what? I came off stage, and all of a sudden they rushed me to the dressing room. I'm going on for her for Act Two, which I hadn't had a put in for yet. And I was like, okay, what is happening? And so they get me dressed, they make the announcement to the audience, hey, we just had a little change in cast. Our Dolores, fell sick, and her understudy, Joanie Anderson, is going to go on. And going back to the collaborativeness of theater, of course, I have been rehearsing, on my own, and we've had understudy rehearsals, but I hadn't run Act Two yet, like in its entirety. And so to come out, the muscle memory of, also watching, because as I was an on-stage cover. So every night I was watching my friend do the show. So what I had rehearsed, but then also by memory, watching her, like all of those elements came together. And then, backstage, people were throwing me in the directions I needed to go because I didn't get to run the backstage traffic yet. So like it was just I would come off stage and somebody would hand me to somebody, and it was such an exhilarating experience. And I have to say, no matter how much you do the work and you perform, I think there's always going to be, not for everyone, but sometimes that self-doubt of like, am I cut out for this work? Should I be doing this thing? Am I good enough? Whatever. And that experience that night, I said, I'm supposed to be doing this work. It was a nice um moment for me to check in with myself and affirm myself that you can do this work. You have the experience, you have the tools, you have what you need, and you're ready, and like I since then I had been graduated for many years, so it wasn't like I was like fresh out of college and like, oh my gosh, I had been, kind of working professionally for a while. And so, but that experience was just so wonderful. And the audience was so wonderful. And a little like piece of that was super special. We would always go to the grocery store, and whenever we were there, whenever we would see people, you should come to the show. Like, especially my friend, she's so personable. She's very much an extrovert. And she'd be like, you gotta come see the show. She was always talking to everybody. And one person that we invited came that night. So they were able to see her for Act One, and then they were able to see me for Act Two. And so it was just such a special experience, like, in totality. But that would be one of my favorites, for sure. And I think my second would just be from a personal standpoint of the character's journey and my own journey, was The Color Purple. I played Celie when I did that production, and Celie's journey of, just growth and affirming herself, finding her voice. I was, younger at the time. And, again, those things in your brain, the self-doubt, and not even just on stage, but personally, you think about, and being able to speak life into her. And like every time I would sing I'm Here, it was very emotional because I was talking to me, and I was affirming my, oh, getting getting a little emotional. Lord, I didn't, gosh, that was years ago. But truly, I was speaking to myself. Um Loving on myself in real time through that production. And I had a wonderful cast who also supported me in that moment as well. And so yeah, that was very special too for that reason.
Wow, what two incredible stories and shows. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, Sister Act is just that show is a beast within itself. Like,
Yes, it's
wow,
super
wow,
fun. But
wow. And I can't even like I always say, shout out Swing Nation, like swings, understudies, standbys, the backbone of theater. And I can't
listen,
imagine what
holding
that
it
was like.
down.
And doing that without a put in for a second. Like, oh my God.
I
Like
was like, my
that
brain was gonna explode, but we made
that
it.
because that's a lot of things that actors don't see, or that people that aren't actors don't see, sorry, is like when you are doing a role, you have an on-stage track and an off-stage track. And
Yeah,
like people don't realize that the off-stage track is sometimes harder than the on-stage track if you don't know where you're going. So
right.
that is just absolutely crazy. And like playing a leading role without a put-in for Act Two is just crazy. Like that's crazy. And I mean the color purple, anytime someone just mentions the color purple, like there's just tears in my eyes. Like
It's a
that show
beautiful
reminds me
movie.
why I love theater. Like that is just
Mm,
such a gorgeous, gorgeous show, and what
yeah.
incredible stories and experiences that you've got to have with those shows. Just wow. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think just going back to the swings, I think that this show specifically with the play that goes wrong, you know, watching the work that our covers and our swings do blows my mind. Like I think in like my first couple of weeks with the show, still learning the show in real time, you get used to hearing certain voices and then somebody else goes in. But like within a week, I think one of our covers went on for like three different people within such a short span of time. And I literally was just so in awe of like, you have multiple people in your brain at all times, multiple blocking. And with our show, it's very physical. And so like, it just, I truly bow down to our covers and our swings, because it's just, it really is phenomenal work that they do.
Yeah, it's insane. And with your show too, like with all the moving parts that you have, and like if you're
Yes.
standing in the wrong place, it could get dangerous.
Yes.
So it's very I always bring it back to Dear Evan Hansen because I had multiple dear friends of mine that covered Evan, Jared, and Connor. And I have a
Hmm.
lovely friend of mine right now in The Outsiders on Broadway who's covering Pony Boy and Johnny. And I
Hmm.
recently saw a video of him singing the song Stay Gold to himself. And I just think it is somebody edited it and it's like him singing the Pony Boy and the
Oh,
Johnny
because
part.
he did one role and they did the other role.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
I
just like
love
singing it
that.
to
I love
himself.
it.
And I'm just like, that right there, as hilarious as it is, it
Yeah.
teaches you how special swings and covers are. And my favorite thing is looking at their scripts. I have another friend in the Outsiders tour right now, and he's doing Pony Boy, Johnny, and Dally. And looking at
Mm.
his script and seeing all the different like highlighted, it's like swings and understudies
Oh,
are superheroes.
I mean, I had to have
Superheroes.
two different scripts. I couldn't do like I
Yeah,
had my understudy script for
yeah,
Dolores and I had my script for myself as Michelle and the Nun. I
yeah.
couldn't have it at the same.
It's
I
crazy.
would I couldn't
It's
do it.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh. So, alongside from being a star on stage, you've also stepped into the TV and film world, and you made your network television debut with the hit show Bull on CBS. And
Yes.
you've appeared in Blind Spot, The Last OG, First Wives Clubs, Blue Bloods, and the Emmy-nominated short film drama on Netflix called It's Bruno. So, what was the transition from stage to screen like for you, and what did you discover about yourself as a performer through working in TV and film? I always love picking actors' brains that have kind of stepped into both worlds because they're so different yet so similar.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to tap into that experience that you had with all the time you spent in the TV and film world.
Well, I think the difference in film acting or camera acting versus stage acting, how smaller you can be and it still reads very, and I'm, as you can see, I'm very animated. I'm here and
Oh,
having
me
to
too.
kind of like
Yeah.
having to find the restraint of that
Yeah.
is definitely difficult. I blink a lot, which I've realized that I'm working on still to this day. Like I'm always like talking and I'm like, and then I'll see it on camera and I'm like, okay, we got to take that back. But yeah, just the fact that camera, can be smaller. Camera can also be more, even right now, I feel like with this Zoom, I naturally speak loud. But when you're on set, you don't have to do that because you've
Yeah.
got your mic, pretty close. So you can really just have this kind of like intimate conversation and it doesn't need to be, really grand. I think how quickly television moves, and how editing really can, you don't have to not obviously show up and be prepared for television, but there are opportunities for additional takes, right? Um uh and what ends up making the the project could be cut from how all kinds of different takes. You just never know. So I think number one, being present in the moment because you don't know what's ultimately going to make the screen, make the final product. But I think too, really leaning into the simplicity sometimes of television, that it doesn't have to be as grand. Um, and being present with your scene partner as well. Like I think the fun thing with the last OG, um, Tracy Morgan, is Tracy Morgan in front of the camera, not so like every take we did for the one scene that I had was different every single time. Right. And so wanting to respond to what I'm given every single time and not have in my mind, okay, my character does this. I show up, I give him the jersey. That's my moment. But like he's giving me something else every take that we did. So like being present to like, have a response to that felt genuine and authentic and real, even in a short moment of time, that was exciting, and I want to say as well, the what's the word I'm looking for? Generosity
Yeah.
of people that I've worked with, on set, that they want the product to be just as great as you want the product to be. And my experience has been that, like, people that I've worked with, on the opposite side of my scene partner or whatever, they've been very giving, to make sure I had what I needed to be able to give it back to them. Because obviously whatever I give them is gonna, and I don't think that's specific to me. I just think I've been very fortunate to be in positions with scene partners on camera that, like, they wanted genuinely, I think, never talked about it, but I feel like that's, they want to get the shot, so they were just very generous and very collaborative.
Yeah, it's so cool to see how those two worlds kind of are so different because I feel like in theater school they always tell us like project your voice, play to the back of
Yes.
the house, and then you get on set and the camera's right in your face and it's like, "Oh, okay. I'm
And you
just
don't
here
have
now."
to do, yeah,
But it's
you can,
exactly
it's not necessarily not working as hard, but it's just, thinking in a different
oh,
way and using a
totally.
different muscle. But yeah,
Totally.
it
Yeah.
definitely is a little different.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to dive in all things the play that goes wrong because you are currently
Yes.
starring as Annie in the play that goes wrong off Broadway. So,
Yes.
can you walk us through your play that goes wrong journey from your audition process to where you are now?
Yes. So I received the audition, I think it was like a Wednesday. I went in, I do believe. And, I had never seen the show, so I wasn't familiar with it. But one of my friends helped coach me through my audition, and instantly, my friend was like, "Don't try," because the my audition scene was Annie's one of Annie's entrances,
Mm.
her first one when she comes on, not to give it away, but one of her first entrances. And my friend was like, don't pretend, right? Don't pretend to be like really live in the truth of whatever that's going to be, and full circle, that's absolutely what it is. You can't, with this show, especially doing it multiple times, doing 8 shows a week, repetitively, you have to find what the thing is that allows you to just show up authentically with whatever the thing is, but that it's authentic and present and natural, for the lack of better words. And so I came in and just kind of like went for it. Like I said, Annie, I think, I feel so comfortable with her. And I think even more full circle about my journey with the play that goes wrong, I had an audition for Sandra way before, like, I think maybe 2 or 3 years
No
before. And
way.
I didn't clock it. I didn't clock it when I auditioned. It wasn't until, like, I joined the company that I was like, wait, and sure enough, I went back through my emails and it was for, and I think, but it was
No way.
for one of the understudies, I think, one of the covers. And it's a true testament to what is for you
Yeah.
is for you, because I auditioned and Sandra was not for me, and when I got to dive into Annie, I was like, okay, like, this feels so comfortable. She feels like a warm blanket, and so I had the audition, and then, of course, you feel good about things, but you don't know, right? And so I just kind of, like, I've been working on the whole, like physicality of, like, tearing up my script, going about my day and just surrendering it. And then I got a call back and I was like, okay, and I felt so excited because I had this black jumpsuit that felt very, like, industrial, very stage manager, and so I had
Yeah.
that on. And the first audition, I did not, I had the jumpsuit on, but I didn't kind of play up any type of costuming, anything for that first initial audition. Then when I had the call back, I was like, you know what? We're going to, now that I know what the world is, having worked with the team for the initial audition, I was like, let me just kind of throw on a little dress, something that was easily, like, to put on and that I could manipulate, within the audition. So I, judged up, made myself look a little scraggly and had the call back. And I was able to, they gave me feedback, they gave me notes, we made some adjustments. And then after that, again, I had to surrender it, and I think the beauty, number one, when you think about your process with auditioning and with anything, really taking that initial audition request the win, right? It was great to be selected to be a part of the number, right? To come in and be with everybody who's auditioning. And then when you get a call back, you're like, okay, you know what? Okay, like I'm doing good things that like warrant a second view. That feels good, and of course the booking is just the icing on the cake, but I feel like not using the booking as just the benchmark of your validity in this industry, but the totality of the journey, that someone saw your resume, your headshot, and said, you know what, hey, and even if you don't get those things, don't invalidate yourself, but again, looking at the big picture, that it's a whole meal that makes the thing. And so going from the audition to the callback to the booking. I think I got the call. The callback was maybe like 2 or 3 days after, and then I might have had to go like the whole weekend waiting, I think. And then the following, like Monday or Tuesday, something like that. I mean, there was a little bit of time where I was kind of like,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen? And then when I got the call, from my agent that said, hey, you got it. It really is just special. And I think, too, going back to how everything is connected with anything I do, because I have my son, I'm always thinking about, sadly, I have to think a little further down the road,
Yeah.
because I'm like, what does it look like for childcare? What does it look like with school? Somebody's got to pick him up. Like what? And I've never had like sitters and all that. So it was a daunting experience to think I've got to now hire a babysitter, someone who's going to be in my home. And like that's a whole other conversation. But all of that is connected. And I said to myself, if this is for me, all of those pieces will manifest as they are supposed to. I'm not going to stress about it in the sense of like losing sleep about it, but I'm not going to overthink it as much, because I know if this is for me, what I'm going to need is going to show up for me in the way that I need it. And I ended up finding an amazing sitter who has been with us. She's about to transition out, and I'm bringing somebody new in I'm going into my second year with the show. But
Yeah.
and then that was stressful, because I was like, wait, what do you mean you can't do it anymore? And she was like, yeah, I've got some different things, and the timing doesn't align. But I found someone else who was just really lovely, and it just and it that first experience set me up for the new one, to interview somebody new, and like I had more questions to ask, and it was just this whole thing. But and then joining the company, rehearsal, I had basically 3 weeks of rehearsal twice a week. So in total, six rehearsals. And so, with that, it's my responsibility. Like I try to process it as, whenever I showed up, whatever we worked on that day, I had to digest it, because with such a short turnaround, I wanted to be able to play and start to put things into my body the next rehearsal process. And then whatever I learned at that rehearsal, I had to digest that, so that we, stay fluid and keep the train moving, so that by the time the scheduled kind of like run, or my put in was scheduled, things were like as in my body as they could be, to get through it all. So it was exciting, to go from audition to joining the company. And it's just been great since then. I just having a really, really good time.
Oh, what an incredible journey you had with the show. And this next question is a little bit silly, so I apologize, but I'm
Oh
I'm
no.
dying to know. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the show, and I have to ask, what is it like performing in a production where things going wrong is like actually part of the fun?
I mean, it's hilarious. Like my first night. So my first night, I don't know how to tell it without. I mean, it's not really telling anything like the plot, but I will say I did something that went wrong, like in real life, and my adrenaline was like. And so I just kind of like gestured to one of the actors to go fix fix it for me.
I
And
mean,
I
you
mean,
played
it,
the
like
stage manager at work.
I think that's kind of how I interpreted it. Like after it happened, I was like, her stage manager-ness, like, yes, she's in this awkward, uncomfortable position that feels very like foreign to her, but she still wanted to make sure the show is, great and we get to the end. So like but it was wonderful. And the actor was so gracious to like, obviously he couldn't say no in the because we're doing a live moment, but it was just so exciting when things go wrong in real life and we as the performers have to manage that. It's exhilarating, and we get to check in with each other and kind of like reconnect, to the energy of the show. It's really fun. But like in general, the things that go wrong, I'd be lying if some things don't still catch me off guard, like because it's some things that are happening that I can't see,
Yeah.
because my eyes may be closed or something like that. So that's still a lived, real response every night because you have to trust that the elements are where they need to be able to like, to keep things going safely and things like that. So it's exciting. It's exciting. It really is a special show to do, So
And
it's fun.
it's so funny because Annie's my favorite character in the show because she is the stage manager. And the plot of the show is that everything goes wrong because like you and I were saying, like I have so many similarities with Annie. And then now getting to chat with you, I realize we have so many similarities. We're both very like type A people. And like when
Yes.
you are the stage manager, like I'm always making sure props are set. Like I will check my props before a show like 4 times. And my friend, my director, and my stage manager will be like, you already checked them. They're there. And so I'm like, I just need to like, I'm very type A. Like I need to make sure
Yes.
everything is good before I get on stage. Like I am not a very like go with the flow person. I'm like, I need a
Yes.
plan. So that is why I adore Annie. And like I just think it's so funny for you. And like I want to kind of pick your brain on what it's been like stepping into this character because she's a stage manager and then just everything goes wrong.
It's funny because like I feel like I've had the opportunity to see two different Annies. So sometimes within the show we can swing out,
Yeah, yeah.
and a cover can go on, and so I've been able to see one of our covers, and she is just so lovely, and um, I love watching. And I've been able to swing out 3 times, and like each time I've had the opportunity. I never wanted to see Annie 3 times, but seeing Annie's response to different characters, because sometimes in a swing out, there may be somebody different in other positions of the show that weren't in the last one. So that's exciting too, to be able to like see the show continually fresh. Um, but like, and then the Annie that I took over for, also wonderful, wonderful actress. And I think the funness of all of our different interpretations of Annie. My Annie is very like she's like losing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From
Yes.
from like the moment like we realize that things aren't where they need to be. It's she's definitely very high energy. Um and I love playing that. And I think my favorite part about that is with Trevor specifically, because I've also had the opportunity to have to play off of different Trevors, and every Trevor has different energy. And the fun thing about that is how I still approach Annie, but responding to the energy of the Trevor that I'm given in real time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it may shift depending on what my scene partner gives me. So still being able to be genuine to like the character that I've created and worked on, but then how that responds to what I'm given, that's really fun. That's really, really fun. And I mean it happens with everyone else in the cast, but like I specifically have a lot of time, I feel like, with Trevor from the top of the show. Leading into like the start of the show properly, and so that's really fun to kind of like have those little moments. And uh yeah, just you know as the stakes continue to raise when something continues to kind of go awry, what is Annie's responds to that? And, does she ever give up hope that it's not all gonna like get back on track? And sometimes I think for me that might change from night to night where I might feel defeated. I'm like, yo, it just is bad. And I've lost all tangible things to do to help navigate this thing. Or, you know, I might be very victorious, like I'm gonna see it to the end. And it changes from night to night, still staying within the frame of the world, that has been placed on me, like from like auditioning it and rehearsing it and all that's been given to me. But how I live truthfully, within it.
And what was your rehearsal process like, kind of learning all of the carefully choreographed mistakes that kind of
Yeah.
make the show work? Like, what was that rehearsal process like? Because you said you only had six rehearsals, which kind of just it
Yeah.
blows my mind.
Well, I think you just have to jump in. You have to trust and jump in. I'll never forget the first night we did uh one of Annie's stunts that she specifically does. And I have to say, I go back to my cheerness because physically what I was doing resembled, because I'm trying not to give it away. But
No,
basically
no,
I'll
I
just
know. Yeah, I'm like, you can give it away, but yeah.
but physically what I was doing in the show resembled tumbling.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So in my body, the muscle memory, even though I haven't tumbled in a very long time, but the muscle memory of what that felt
Yeah.
like helped me to not have fear going into that moment. And I think that helped to just get straight to the nitty gritty of what are the mechanics of this moment. What does it need to be for the show? Because I didn't have any fear in my brain to try and execute it. We didn't have to really like kind of work up to something, because at least that was in my body in that moment. And so that I like, again, life experiences, come into play. And so that was, I mean, I think that's the funnest thing that Annie gets to do. But
Yeah.
some of the other stuff, recently when I swung out, I was watching and I was like, I know what it takes to be on the other side, but watching how the cast makes it look so effortless. And even when I'm in it and I'm watching them on stage, being an audience member, like watching just it just flows, and that was really exciting and cool to see. But like going back to like rehearsal, the specificity of each of everything is really like, I mean, in any show, there's blocking, there's choreography. But when you have blocking, choreography, and, fight coordination as well, to make sure you're always doing something in the same moment, at the same place, at the same time, because whoever is affected on the opposite end is expecting you to be in the same moment, in the same place, at the same time, because they're going to be placing themselves in a particular, space to be able to, respond. It's definitely another element to think about, when you're doing the show, and especially towards the end of the show when things are moving very quickly. It's so important to make sure that even in heightened moments, that specificity is locked in. It's in your body, it's in your mind. You know exactly what's going to happen and where you're going to, do things to make sure everybody stays safe. And of course, things can happen because it is live theater, but for the most part, everybody is just so in tune um, to make sure that they're, keeping everybody safe.
Yeah, and I have to ask, because I know you brought it up a little bit, but have you ever had something genuinely go wrong during a performance that wasn't scripted? And did you have to kind of use skills you've developed in the show to kind of keep the scene going?
I mean, like I said, my first time going on, I swatted something out of someone's hand that, is not in the show, obviously. And I had to respond in my mind, I was like, go get it. Like that. I added a line. I was like, go pick it up. Cause like, of course, my character had to do something with the thing that I swatted out of the person's hand. So my brain was like, I need to still do my stuff. So you need to go get it, So like, and it was all in the moment, like all caught up in the moment. And the actor went to get it, and everything proceeded as normal, but it was just so in the moment of like, the show must go on. And I think the
Yeah.
beauty of this show that it's been created that actually for perfect example, because I was going to say the audience doesn't know, but we had a fire drill at one time, and the audience thought that that was supposed to happen. And so, the house manager had to come and kind of give an announcement, say, hey, we had to evacuate. We had to do the whole thing. We were out on the sidewalk. I had my Annie get up on and everything. And it was crazy. But we came back in safely. And, and I think the audience was even more excited because like now we had this major break in the
Yep.
show. And it was pretty close to the top of Act Two. So we weren't disrupted too much that it wasn't easy to just kind of jump back in. But,
Yeah.
that's live theater. Stuff happens.
Yep.
But again, I think we're always kind of checking in with one another to, unless the stage manager calls a hold, we will always, just keep it moving and keep it flowing, and just have stuff to kiki about and laugh about
Yeah.
backstage when it's all over.
So it's so funny. Fire drills during shows are just crazy to me. My friend Diego, who's Elder Cunningham on Broadway right now, he also did it out on the tour, and he told me that they
Yeah.
had a fire drill out on tour. And I was just picturing all the Mormons like just coming out in those, and I was just like, I just can't with fire drills
Sing a
during
scene.
shows. Literally. And I have to ask, do you have a favorite scripted wrong moment in the show that you look forward to doing every night, whether it's like one of your stunts or like one to watch? Like there's so many to choose from, but I have to ask, do you have a favorite?
Yes, I do. I love uh the loops. The loops. Yes. I feel like because Annie in general, I love the fact that she does not have as much of the restraint of the audience in the sense that she gets to kind of observe in a way that her counterparts who are truly trying to play the play that goes right have to kind of adhere to. Like she gets to really kind of like step back and be a fly on the wall a little bit and watch. And so the loops is really where she kind of like comes into her inner actor and really gets to start playing more because it's right before Act Two. I love the loops. I love the loops. And depending on, from night to night, it can change depending on what, the fellas are giving at any moment. And I just get to respond to it. So that's my favorite for sure.
I mean, I'm excited for this next one because I was thinking about it, and now the next time I see the show, it's gonna rattle in my brain. As theater people, we always say the show must go on, and that's
Yeah.
the part of the magic of live theater. You never know what's gonna happen once the curtain goes up, but in the play that goes wrong, the unpredictability is kind of taken to a whole new level, and it's the heart of the show. So, what
Yes.
has this production taught you about embracing the unexpected and finding the magic and the comedy in those moments when things don't go according to plan? Because I mean, we've all been there.
Yes. I think I think it's a two-parter as far as the show and having the opportunity having the opportunity to work with other people and not get used to something, right? Like
Yeah.
when I do get an opportunity to work with a cover, um and their cadence and their delivery is different than what I'm used to, actively listening, to make sure that you're not playing how you would with the other person, and with everything going wrong and with having to stay fresh. I think actively listening, um and honestly I think actively listening because that is connected to everything else, not being not expecting something and being prepared to pivot if you need to, while still keeping the show, on its toes, is such an incredible learning lesson that I've had. I feel like someone in my cast had said they remember hearing from someone else that like doing this show feels like a master class. It feels
Oh,
because you're so on, you know, all the time, because you're thinking about, not only are you thinking about yourself and your own safety, but you're responsible for your castmates' safety at any given moment, so, and you're also responsible of giving something to the audience. So like all of the things that are working um in tandem, just really keep you very present and keep you very alert and active. So that's really, really cool every night.
yeah. And now that you're going into your second year with the show, which is mind-blowing, what has been your highlight moment in the play that goes wrong thus far?
Oh gosh. Well, I would say not in the show, but my son seeing the show. Because he's obviously I've been performing since he's been born, but this was his first experience really connecting what I do and being able to see it and really like understand. So that was really, really special, I think, as a parent too. And also because I'm gone a lot, like now working at night, being able to have him understand where I am and what I'm doing and like not having to have as much grief about it, as a parent. It's
Oh,
like, oh, I'm
totally.
away from you. I feel so bad. But knowing that he understands, that has been really special. And I think um, just connecting with, the audience, I love, love, love. And then, this is something, it's small, but I love seeing, because sometimes in theater in general, we may not see a lot of people of color in the audience sometimes, so when I do see like little kids, um, it's really special. The representation that they get to see when they come to the theater and see someone who looks like them, that has been really special. And being able to be that vessel to give to them, feels very important to me, it's funny. I was just watching a movie musical with my son last night, and it was a period from like the 60s. It's funny saying that because it was far away, but not, but still, it was a period, musical. And because that's one, like I said, one of my favorite things to do is to watch movie musicals as a kid. So I'm trying to like have my son get into that vibe. And he asked me, a very honest question of like, why aren't there, any, persons of color in this film? And we had to take it to historical facts of like what was happening during the time period when this film was recorded and filmed. And there were things that were happening that did not allow for persons of color to have the same opportunities on screen, as others. And so full circle, being able to have representation and have someone see someone who looks like them, and being it's just, I think it's just a responsibility that I'm thankful to have. And any opportunity that I do when I see little ones, it just, kids in general in the theater, they're precious, and but there is something special there that just kind of feels this connection of like, I see you and you see me. And I wonder if a seed is planted for a little performer or something. I don't know, but I do love that. And I definitely take it very, I don't want to say serious, but it matters a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Being
I think
representation.
yeah, representation is so important. And I always say
Mhm.
it too, especially in young kids, like you brought up. Like, I got to do my first national tour with a children's musical and coming out of the
Mhm.
stage door and seeing those little kids that you never know if that was their first theater experience or if that's what
Yeah,
impacted them. And I always say, I love thinking about it. It always makes me emotional is you don't know if those kids are going to go on and pursue theater professionally and be on Broadway and win Tony Awards. And your performance
yeah,
what impacted them. So to get to be that inspiration and that representation for somebody else, like you never know how that's going to snowball and how the dominoes are going to fall. Like it's so special to kind of think about that and be that for someone.
yeah. For sure, for sure.
So to wrap us up, I want to do our next two questions on a little bit of advice. Your professor Frankie Day gave you a motto that I know has stayed with you, so I want to chat
Oh,
about that. And I resonated with it so much, so I do want to dive into that. And it's love the art and not yourself in the art. And I know you've carried that philosophy in all the roles that you've taken on, viewing your art as a gift to be given freely with a generous heart, which you do so, so beautifully. So, what does that motto kind of mean to you today, and how does it shape the way that you approach a character and share a work with your audience?
gosh. May she rest. I think just like it says, I love the work that I get to do, and as hard as it can be sometimes, it is still a job at the end of the day, but I love to do it. And I want that to resonate, with the audiences and people who see the work that I do, that I that it's okay to desire certain things, like having dreams and goals and aspirations in this industry and in this business, but I just never want it to trump or overshadow
Mm.
my desire and joy of giving the craft back to someone else. I just feel like that is my purpose, to be a giver of this thing, and let people see it, and take a piece of, it's now in them to go out into the world, and that joy can now live in them. And even if it's not something that, like, even if it was more of a serious subject matter, I just feel like I want to touch, people with the work that I do. And I feel like that is, um, I just want to hold on to that. I don't want to ever get lost in the other stuff. And like I said, the other stuff can exist, to have goals that you set for yourself of where you want to see yourself in the future, and different accolades that you just strive to achieve and receive. But I just always want to stay connected and grounded to, um, just the work that I get to do, that I'm blessed to do, and want to give that back.
Yeah. And last but not least, looking back on everything that you have achieved in this industry, what advice would you give your younger self entering the industry?
Oh gosh, to believe in yourself, to believe that the thing that you possess, nobody else does. You are your own person, your own artist. You have your own skill set, your own gifts, and they're yours. Um, Never measure them up against someone else's. Um, to trust the process, trust the journey, um, and to stay active in the learning of it all. Never thinking that you know everything. You've reached the pinnacle of your skill set, that there's not something else that you can gain that's going to sharpen your tools, and make your toolbox even more full. Um and to, like I said, believe and keep going, for sure, for sure. And know that the no's are not the be all end all. They're just a redirection to the next thing, to the yes. The yeses are coming, and to believe that they are going to come.
Joni, thank you so much for joining me
You're
on
welcome.
the show. I mean, this conversation has truly been one of my favorites. I have never laughed so hard and smiled so big, and this truly conversation is going to live in my heart forever and ever and hold
Thank
such a
you.
special place. I am so in awe of you and your incredible talent, and I am just so forever grateful for the opportunity to get to look up to you and watch you shine. It was such an honor to have you here. This one is going to
Thank
be
you
very,
so
very
much,
special.
Alex.
Thank you for inspiring me. You're the greatest.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to see you at the stage door again.
You're the best.